For the second time this year, the speed record for defeating all the primevals in Diablo II's endgame has been obliterated. Wow! That was the run! The previous build was fast, but most importantly, it got the gears turning in the community. It led to the theory crafting of an entirely different build, which proved to be eons faster than its predecessor. In this video, I'm going to show you what's currently the fastest boss-killing build in Diablo II, known as the Gavel Smiter, and show you the world record run that it achieved. Let's dive in. This Smiter is not for the faint of heart. Some people design their endgame characters to farm torches with a safe and comfortable approach. Take that concept, chuck it out the window. The Gavel Smiter is an all-or-nothing build that requires an alert player to make quick decisions all throughout a run. The trade-off for this is the ability to farm torches at a breakneck pace, sacrificing safety for speed. In previous builds, we've seen how devastating the curse Amplify Damage is against Uber bosses. Amplify Damage is a necromancer curse that lowers a target's physical resistance by 100%. For the previous record-setting paladin, there was a large focus on stacking Crushing Blow, as the amount of damage a monster takes from it is directly related to its physical resistance. You might remember this from our Glitches That Still Exist video. There, we talked about how a lot of physical resistance can make a monster or player immune to Crushing Blow. The opposite is true for monsters that have very low or even negative physical resistance. They take more damage from Crushing Blow. It's similar to using Static Field against a monster under the Conviction aura. Static Field is technically lightning damage, and if the monster has a negative amount of lightning resistance, you can actually reduce their health by more than what the game allows. This same concept works for Crushing Blow and physical resistance as well. It became clear that Amp Damage was the obvious curse choice for Uber Tristram runs if you're trying to complete them quickly. The drawback to the previous record-setting paladin, however, is that it relied on a very small percent chance to cast the curse. Runs were almost completely at the mercy of RNG. But that build set the groundwork for a user by the name of Mindless. Through some rigorous theory crafting, he was able to conceptualize a way to take some of that randomness out of the equation. He went as far as to demonstrate it on Pluggy, and after seeing how fast each of the primevals was slain, we had to check this out. While it's still important to keep Crushing Blow in mind, focusing on actual damage output is important for finishing bosses quickly. So this new build tries to strike a fine balance between the two. In doing so, we completely abuse the Amp Damage curse granted by this build's namesake item, the Gavel of Pain. This weapon allows its user to directly cast Amplify Damage instead of waiting for it to proc. This is the only item in the game that grants that ability. The strategy is, in itself, pretty unique. First, we try to proc Fade from the fires in River of Flame. This is because the resistances on this build are extremely low. To proc this pre-buff, we use Last Wish from our stash. Last Wish gives the highest percent chance to proc Fade when you get hit. Treachery can also do this, but taking off our Enigma in this build causes other problems. The last thing you want is to be strength bugged and not be able to pick up your corpse after you get embarrassingly slain by an evil force. Second, we pre-buff Battle Orders and Battle Command with CTA, and because of the lines of play we have to take in this run, we actually have to throw that on the ground for space reasons. Yeah, risky, but as you'll see in the run, it's pretty inconvenient if you forget to do so. For these runs, the timer starts as soon as the player enters the first endgame portal and ends when the final primeval is defeated. The build relies on cursing each boss with Amplify Damage via Gavel of Pain charges, switching back to our main hand, and then commencing the beats. Once we run out of Amp Damage charges and kill the third boss, we switch to another Gavel of Pain that we keep hidden in our inventory. This is quicker than making portals by Larzuk and trying to repair the weapon mid-run. From there, we head to Tristram and destroy each primeval, trying not to spend more than 6 or 7 seconds on each boss. The damage on this build is savage. Let's take a look at the gear. This might be the first of these speed builds where we utilize both Last Wish for the pre-buff and Grief Phase Blade. That means, unfortunately, we're giving up our super creative item that we made for previous builds. Although Crushing Blow is sort of taking a back seat to damage here, we still try to muster up as much of it as we efficiently can. This is why we must use G-Face, Goblin Toes, and our Smiter gloves. With those, we managed to muster up about 70%. Because we get 20% increased attack speed from our gloves, you can actually have the lowest possible attack speed roll on Grief and still meet this breakpoint. That's because 50% increased attack speed from our items is the target. This is of course in combination with the Fanaticism aura. With a good roll on Grief, we could get the rest of our increased attack speed from other places, such as putting a 15-15 jewel into the G-Face. But whereas we're trying to stack up Crushing Blow on our gloves anyway, we might as well get our attack speed from that item slot as well. The armor and the shield might be the only two items that haven't changed in the evolution of this character. Enigma allows us to teleport, and Spirit's Sacred Targe has so many good things. A good block percent, faster cast, and faster hit recovery. The resistances aren't bad either. The rest of our cast comes from a rack, a rare amulet, and a rare ring. Both pieces of jewelry boost our resistances as well. As you may know, resistances are super important in these runs because of Mephisto's Conviction aura. Finally, we use Ravenfrost for our source of Cannot Be Frozen. We actually stockpile a ton of Juves for this build too. Whereas we're giving up Life Tap, which saves our ass in the heat of battle, we need to pay close attention to our life total and adjust it with Juves when necessary. We actually sacrifice a lot of spaces in our inventory for this build as well. We need the Herodric Cube in our inventory in order to pre-buff and to make portals. And additionally, we need our backup Gavel in our inventory as well. What space we can use is filled with a mix of life and resistance charms, pally combat lifers, and of course, Torch and Annihilus. Mindless suggested that Tomb Reaver is actually a better choice on the Mercenary than what previous builds were using. He is 100% right. In previous setups, the Merc's random assistance with bosses could be pretty critical in achieving a faster time. But with this new build, that's a little less important. Nonetheless, in the cases where he does help out, it can go a long way. Because of this, we use a 3 open socket Ethereal Tomb Reaver, super rare, and we put 3 bear runes inside of it in order to achieve 60% crushing blow from that item alone. That, in conjunction with the Mercenary's G-Face, we can give him a 95% chance of crushing blow. We also socket the G-Face with a Cham rune because we don't want our Merc to be frozen either. As for the skills, it's a pretty typical endgame Smiter setup. Smite is our main attack, so we max that. Holy Shield increases our smite damage, so we max that as well. Pretty much the only aura we use for the runs is Fanaticism, so we put 20 points there. We do put 1 point into Vigor for when we need to run. The rest of our points go into Resist Fire and Resist Lightning for the passive max resistance increases that they provide. The stats are also similar to previous builds: 0 points into Strength, enough points into Dexterity for max block, and the rest of the stat points go directly into Vitality. Some of the speed breakpoints for this build are a 6-frame smite attack, with no more than 7 frames if the character is slowed by Holy Freeze or Decrepify. Next is 75% faster cast in order to navigate maps quickly. And lastly, 86% faster hit recovery in order to not get balled up too much by the random hits that you take in the run. The RNG in this run also can vary quite a bit. Duriel can sometimes spawn far away from the portal, which is basically a run killer. Oh, fucking Duriel. Monsters can randomly curse the player with Decrepify on his way to Iswal. Not necessarily a run killer, but will definitely slow your smite speed down by 1 frame. Lilith can spawn as close as 1 teleport away. Other times you'll have to explore the entire map before finding her. The latter can indeed be a run killer. But a big piece of RNG in these runs is monster movement and density. The monster density is especially important in 2 places in the run. We can first see it in the room that contains Lilith. Sometimes it can be astronomically thick in that room, which makes the run very, very difficult and increases the chance of dying substantially. Monster density really does matter as well in Tristram. If the Tristram bosses decide to start spawning monsters ridiculously, it can actually cause your game to lag quite a bit. If the monster density proves to be outrageous in the Tristram area, not only can it be a run killer because of the Tristram lag, but as we've seen in some of the runs, it can actually prove to be a player killer as well. Oh my god, no! Damn! Now that we know all of the random things that can go right or wrong in the run, let's check it out in its entirety. Here's the current world record for defeating the PVM endgame in Diablo II. God, I'm never ready. Never ready for that. And we go furnace. Let's go! This feels fast. Fuck. Oh, shit! Fuck! And there it is. Uber Tristram defeated in 1 minute and 13 seconds. And because so many of you ask about what the torches are in these runs, here's the one from this one. RNGesus says, congrats on a great run. Enjoy this shitty torch. At this point, I'm not really sure how much faster the runs can get. We could shave off a few seconds here and there with this run, but it's hard to tell if there will be a huge breakthrough again. But we have said that before. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one. I was beginning to think he was practically unbeatable on any paladin that I could make. But with this build, we actually went back and forth and the duels were pretty even.